Hello everyone, I'm OP Tank, bringing you another Neverwinter video, and today we're going to be covering the Oathbound Paladin DPS build. This build is not set in stone. There's many ways to play a Paladin, and everyone plays one slightly differently. This is just going to give you a general overview of everything from the gear, enchantments, powers, feats, boons, companions, mounts, stuff like that. Best suggestion is try to figure out what really works for you. There's lots of different ways of doing things, and it's completely up to you on how you want to do them. As per usual, I will be including timestamps in the description of the video, so you can quickly jump to the portions of the video you would like to see for the information. So, that being said, let's get started. So the first thing we're going to cover is races. So, for races, you have a variety of choices. Some are already available to you, others ones you unfortunately have to buy them on the Zen market or get them from a lockbox. So, of course, the best one for us would be the Ancestry Dragonborn. That one you unfortunately get from a lockbox. It's incredibly hard to get. But they give you +2 to any 2 stats, which is phenomenal. It gives you 3% to power and crit, and gives us 3% more healing and 3% more hit points, which is huge for us. The other ones are Dragonborn. Dragonborn you can purchase on the Zen market. They give also +2 to any 2 stats. Your power and crit is increased by 3%, as the Ancestry one is, but you get 5% more healing and no additional hit points. So not as good as the Ancestry one, but still a very decent one. The other two that are free to play is Human. You get +2 to any stat. That's only one stat, unfortunately. You also get +3% increase in defense, which is, well, you're a tank. Pretty straightforward, you're going to want that. And you get 3 more heroic feat points. So that's very handy. Very handy. The other option is Tiefling. Tiefling gives you a +2 to Charisma, and either a +2 to Con or a +2 to Int. So both of these are 2 stats that we want. We want Con and we want Charisma for this build. They also have a +5% damage against enemies below 50% health. So you just do 5% more damage to them if they're at 50% or less of their total hit points, which is very nice for a DPS build. And you have a 10% chance when being hit by an enemy to put a 5% power debuff on an attacker. That's more of a tank side, but still a solid ability to have. That way you're not burning through all your temporary hit points while in combat. So those are the 4 main races. You can make most races work. Some of them are not really going to be the best. They'll give you like dex and intelligence and stuff like that. You kind of want to stay away from those. You want to mainly focus on constitution and charisma for this particular build. But again, choice is completely up to you. You can choose any race you want and have fun. It's only a game. So then we'll cover over the ability scores. So as I said before, we want Con and Charisma. We want Con for more hit points and to take less damage. It's more of the tank side, but we'll get to the reason why we want those hit points here in a second. And then, of course, Charisma. Here we're going to get stamina regeneration, action point gain, companion stat bonus, and combat advantage damage, which is all solid across the board for us. So the reason why we want lots of hit points is because of our Oath of Protection, which is our class feature. So your damage is increased by 10%. Damage resistant is increased by 10%. Generate 500% more threat. And when you take damage, you gain power proportional to the amount of damage you took, capping at 10% of your max HP. So whatever your total HP is, if you can take up to 10% of your HP and damage, then you're going to be able to dish out a lot more damage because you're going to have a lot more power. Now, you can offset the damage that you're taking with your temporary hit points, and it will still count towards this. And this is also on a 10-second timer. So you don't need to take that full 10% in one strike from an enemy. You can take this over the course of 10 seconds to get up to your cap. So that covers the races and the ability score. So now we'll talk about gear, artifacts, enchantments, all that stuff. So gear will change based on what you're able to acquire and what you'd like to have and run with. For most part, there's main things that you want to run with, and then there's stuff that you really don't want to run with. Basically, you want anything that's going to give you lots of power, HP, crit, armor pen, and any aphasics, the equip power from the item. So the one I run with right now is Decaying Habit. So for the first minute you're in combat, you gain 175 power every 5 seconds. You stay in combat for longer than 1 minute. You start to lose 250 power every 5 seconds for a total loss of 3,000 power. That sounds bad, but you actually make more power than you end up losing. So even if you fight for that full over, I think it's a minute and a half in order to lose everything, or a minute 40, you still end up having a bit more power than what you end up losing. So a solid piece of kit. Now most fights I go into don't last too long. I can usually mow things down fairly quickly, but still a solid helm. Don't want to grab this one. Pretty much anything will do. Just look for anything that's going to give you power, hit points, and then if it has a nice equip power with it, solid. For the utility slot in here, I currently have the Dragon Horde enchantment rank 14. So this is 7% chance after killing a foe, find a jewel at your feet. Multiple copies of this enchantment increases the chance of the find. What this actually does is put refinement straight into my backpack. So I like running with this because it automatically drops it into your inventory. You don't need to pick it up, even though it says it drops at your feet. It actually drops it straight into your inventory. So it's a solid thing. Really helpful for getting that refinement. And because, as you'll either find out soon or already know, refinement is basically its own currency in this game. You need a lot of it in order to upgrade stuff. You upgrade items, you upgrade artifacts, you upgrade all your enchantments. There's a lot of things. For chest piece, one of the better ones to run with is the new chest piece from Mod 14 that you get with the new seals. So you'll have to run Castle Ravenloft a few times. It's the Oathlord's Ward Cuirass. So equip power when your health is 50% or more, and your power is increased by 1,500. Solid. Your health is always going to be above 50%. Yes, this is a DPS build, not so much the tank build, but with the temporary hit points, you'll be fine. Even if you do drop below 50%, you do get the defense increased by 2,000. So all around solid. And on this, you'll get maximum hit points. Bunch of AC, power, crit, and some more defense. So all around solid. For the enchantments I got in here, I have the Radiant enchantments into the defense slot, giving me more HP for our class feature, so I can dish out more damage. And it's also part of our one of our passives that we have for our powers. that allows me to dish out even more damage. And for armor enchantments, I currently have the Eclipse enchantment, but here you can run pretty much whatever you like. There's no right or wrong answer. Just find something that really works for you. I have the Eclipse. I also switch it out with the Elven Battle Fury, so I don't get knocked around as much. And I find that to be quite nice. Now, I forgot to mention the helm. I'll go back to the helm, but you also want to reinforce it with power. So I reinforce my chest piece with power. And then, of course, with the helm, I reinforce it with power as well, giving me more power so I can dish out more damage. For your arms, there's a variety of choices. I'm currently using the Primal Restoration ones. So when you damage or heal a target for more than 15% of your maximum hit points, which is pretty easy as a DPS build, you gain 1% power for 10 seconds for a max of 5 stacks. You should have no problems getting those stacks really quick. So, and then utility slot, I threw in a dark for more movement speed. For your weapon sets, I went with the primals that you buy with the seals. These are extremely solid, some of the best in the game. There is a little bit of debate. I don't really think it's much of one, but still, I recommend going with the primals. Some people say the sunset is better. Sunset's really only, it basically does this with a little bit more, only at night and in Ravenloft. If you're not in Ravenloft, you're not getting the full potential. This is far better. So this one, the two sets will give you, when you're hit or healed for more than 10% of your maximum hit points in a single blow, your damage and outgoing healing will be increased by 10% for 10 seconds. You're running around by yourself. Enemies are going to hit you. You're going to get that. It's pretty straightforward. And then again, if you don't want to run with that, there is the relic set from the Sea Moving Ice, or you can get the set from the River District. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but there's 4 sets there, and one of them is a solid set for them. I think it's the Fae set, if I remember correctly. It's the DPS set. And in here, I run with Radiance for my offensive, more power, of course. And then for my weapon enhancement, I run with Lightning for DPS. I find Lightning to be one of the better ones, especially when combined with the encounter power, Burning Lights. And we'll cover that when I go over powers. But here, again, you could run with whatever you have available or whatever you really like running with. You can run with Fey Touched. You can run with the new Prominence one. Terror is good. Dread is a really good one. If you use certain encounter powers, you can really dish out damage. Unfortunately, it's mainly single target damage that you're going to be dishing out. But still, if you're doing hunts or you're at a particular boss, solid. And then in here, I run with 2 more Radiance. These are only rank 13s. Unfortunately, I gotta get them upgraded eventually. Defense and offensive, both Radiant, more power, more HP, helping out our build. For boots, I run with Heels of Fury. It's the new mod 14 from the Sisters Hunt. So my melee powers do 3% more damage. Everything I have is a melee power, so pretty straightforward. Reinforced it with a power kit. Gives you HP, crit, armor pen, defense, and then a utility slot I threw in a dark for more movement speed. Just to note, Heels of Fury and the chest piece from mod 13, it's like Furor of the Bear or something like that, that also increases your melee powers by 3%, do not stack. You'll only get the one buff, which really sucks. So don't run with both the chest and the heels, only run with one of them. Now we'll cover over, well, we'll jump to rings first. So rings, you'd like to run with the Grave Striker rings. You want a +4 and a +5. This way you'll get the bonus, the equip power bonus. So the equip bonus is when your health is greater than 85%, your power is increased by 1,000, and this one is by 800. The reason why you want two different ones is because this way they stack with each other. If they're both +5s or both +4s, you'll only get the one. And with all of our temporary hit points, shields, and everything, you're always going to have 85% health, so you'll always get the extra 1,800 from these two rings. They have both offensive slots, so you want to put radiance in there, more power, so you can dish out more damage. And in these ones, I used action point gain for reinforcement. For your shirt and trousers, I run with the primals. So I got the upper primals and the lower primals. You can run with whatever you prefer, but I like this one for your daily power. It does 3% more damage, which is solid because we have a very high damaging daily that does a small AoE around it, so it's quite nice. So I like having this one. The pants aren't anything to write home about, but still gives you some decent stats. You get HP, you get armor pen, and a little bit of defense. And with the defensive slot, I threw in a Radiant for more HP, and of course a Radiant in the offensive slot for the shirt for more power. You'll notice that everything on me is for offensive and defensive is Radiant for enchantments. Now for your set, as shown here, I have the Barovian set. Still the best in slot for DPS is actually still Orcus set. I currently run with this particular set because I haven't upgraded more Radiance to high enough rank to make it worthwhile. And I hate having to unequip everything, pull out all the enchantments, put them all in. It's just a pain. So I just run with this set. But of course, best in slot still is the Orca set. So in this one, your set will give you deal up to 20% additional damage based on the difference in hit points between the player and the target. The target's HP is always going to be going down. Yours should always be at 100% with your temporary hit points, your shields, and everything. So you're going to be dishing out lots of damage. Lots. Plus, this one has the equipped power. Increase action point gain by 4% every 3 seconds while in combat. And it gives you some solid power. So you get power, you get crit strike, deflection, not overly important, but still decent. And of course, offensive slot, you want to put a Radiant in there, more power. For utility slot, I run with a Quartermaster to get the bags, which I use and wait for double refinement before opening, get more refinement, help me upgrade everything, and then stuff I don't need to upgrade I can always sell later on, which is quite nice. And then of course the belt, +2 to strength, +2 to con. Not overly important about the strength, but we like the +2 to con. We get power, crit, and deflection. Again, don't really need to worry too much about deflection, but still a little bit doesn't hurt. Defense slot, of course, Radiant, and then utility slot is the Fey Blessing enchantment. Fey Blessing is similar to the Dragonhorde enchantment, but it will actually drop it on the ground, and you'll have to pick it up. Fey Blessing will give you actual enchantments, but it will only be the standard 4, so your Silvery, Azure, Radiant, and what was the last one? Dark. Where the Dragonhorde will give you Paradox, White Pearls, Black Opal, stuff like that. And then the artifact that goes with the set is decent one. We don't use it as a combat power, so we can ignore that portion because it's not that great. But it gives you power, some movement, and AoE resist. Mainly want it for the power, but the whole reason of running with it is to complete the set. Otherwise, it's not that great of one, unfortunately. For the other ones, well, Thirst we can pretty much ignore because it's part of the Barovian set, but still it is a solid set if you want to have it to run with. It is the Mod 14 set, so I guess I should cover it. This is a decent set where you are getting, when you have a shield or temporary hit points, your power is increased by 1,000 as the set bonus, which is pretty solid. I mean, 1,000 more power, extra 1% to 1.2% damage, so pretty solid. And you always have a shield or temporary hit points, so all in all, beautiful. And the artifact is actually quite useful because it gives us hit points, power, gives us defense. We're going for a DPS build here, but still, you get the two stats that we really want, maximum HP and power, so very solid set. But again, best in slot is still Orcus. As for your other artifacts, you want to use it to help boost your HP, your power, and then any other stat that you want to go for. As a DPS, of course, you want 100% crit if you can get it, and if you are running Mod 14, you want 85% armor pen. And if you're going into Castle Ravenloft, of course, you want 100% armor pen. However, you should not be running a DPS OP in Castle Ravenloft. When you start getting into dungeons, everything from right around Castle Never, I'd say, you should never be running a DPS OP. At that point, you need to switch to either a Heal-It-In or a Tank-It-In. But that's my opinion. You can do as you please. It is only a game, and it's all about having fun. But the other artifacts I use is Wheel of Elements. This gives us HP, power, stamina gain guard. It's not bad, but we're getting HP and power. I run this as my main one for activating because I always take the fire buff. Deals 30% bonus damage as fire for 28 seconds. Very solid. The other ones I have is Sigil of the Oathbound Paladin. This is our class artifact. When you run a paladin up to level 60, you'll get the quest from Lord Neverwinter to go get the artifact. We like this one because it gives us, again, HP and power, and some AoE resist, which is quite nice. Sigil of the Great Weapon Fighter is also another class artifact power from the Great Weapon Fighter. We like this one because it gives us HP, power, and armor pen, which is solid. Other excellent choices for either being one of your artifacts or as your active is Sigil is Devoted. Now, unfortunately, you only get power and defense and some incoming healing bonus from it, but it is a nice active power. You can pop that, allows you to use your daily more often. It is quite useful. There is the Soulsight Crystal. This gives you power, lifesteal, and control bonus. It's very useful because you can dish out a substantial amount of damage. Unfortunately, the wheel is still, I'd say, better. But a lot of DPSs like to do the whole Soulsight Crystal with the wheel, so they would activate their Soulsight Crystal and have someone put the wheel on them so they can get the fire buff, and then they just dish out unbelievable amounts of damage. But it is an option, and Soulsight Crystal is fairly cheap. We have Eye of the Giant. I used to run with this one. I really liked it, but I find the wheel allows me to dish out a bit more damage. Because this used to be my active. As you can see, we get HP, power, crit, armor pen, and defense on it, which is solid across the board. But the active power, which is what I used to use it for, was for 12 seconds your power and damage resistance increased by 5%, and your size and speed is increased by 25%. So you're dishing out a bunch more damage by increasing your power by 5%. Plus the damage resistance is quite nice, especially if some enemies are very hard hitting. And if you actually have multiple enemies around you, you can actually increase that by a substantial amount. So those were the artifacts. Again, most artifacts are quite useful. You, of course, would like something with having power and HP in it, and if possible, crit and armor pen. But use what you can, and eventually grind towards the ones that you would actually like to have. Next, we're going to cover over feats. So in feats, again, nothing is set in stone. Feel free to experiment with different ideas. I do it all the time. But we will cover over some of the ones that are quite useful, or at least I would consider to be quite useful, and pick the ones you really feel like will help out your build. So starting down here, we got toughness to increase our hit points, so we went 3 out of 3 on there. Again, more hit points equals more damage, more power, everything. So this is a very nice one that we want. Then we also went weapon mastery for more crit chance, because we are here to dish out damage. We want crits. We skipped the divine action. Divine call now generates action points. It's nice, but unfortunately we went for crit and HP, so we kind of ignored that one. We ended up skipping light shield, so we don't have the damage resistance. As much as we really like to not take a whole lot of damage, there are better feats in order to dish out damage, and we use our temporary hit points and shields and stuff to mitigate the damage that we take, so we can stay in the fight and dish out the damage. So we usually skip that one. So we grab this one for our encounter powers to recharge faster. The more we can spam our encounter powers, the more damage we're going to be dishing out. Then we got Wrathful Strikes, so our at-wills deal more damage. While we're waiting for our encounter powers and our dailies and all that, we're swinging left, right, and center with our at-wills, so the more damage we do, the better. We skip Dominating Presence. Auras increase we don't need. Again, we're just running solo, and even if you were running in a group, your auras are perfectly fine. Everyone's usually grouped together anyways. You don't need to reach halfway across the map to put an aura on someone. We went 3 out of 3 on Impassion Please, so my Divine Call energy regenerates faster. We really like our Divine Call, which is our tab, and we'll get to that in just a moment once we cover over here. Divine Entombment we skipped because we're not worried about healing. Then we went to Steadfast. We went 5 out of 5 here, so each point of Constitution grants an additional 2.5% maximum hit points. Again, more hit points means more power and more damage overall. Divine Wisdom we skipped because we didn't put much into Wisdom, and we don't care about healing. We went 3 out of 3 for Force of Will, so each point of Charisma now increases your crit chance by 1%, and we have a substantial amount of Charisma, so we're getting a good amount of crit out of that, which is quite nice. It saves us from having to worry about certain enchantments later on. So now we'll jump up to the Justice path. So here you have 2 choices. I went with Bound by Light. Your control strength is increased by 10%. Went 5 out of 5 here. You don't have to take this one. You can go with Swift Flash. So when you're struck by a flow, you have a chance to trigger Flash to grant more movement speed. It can only happen once every 10 seconds. Solid one to have, but I went with the control strength, so I don't get controlled as often. Then you have Flash and Light, so you have your encounter powers have a chance to reduce the cooldown of your nearby allies' encounter powers by 10%. The other option was when you drop below 50%, you gain Furious Reversal, which is gives you a bunch of life steal chance for 15 seconds, but can only occur once every 60 seconds. Your HP will never drop below 50%. You got temporary hit points, you got shields. In retrospect, I probably should have put them into Swift Flash. I don't really run with allies. Now, I am an 18k OP, so there is a lot of stuff I do run with people on occasion. So this was the main reason that I do like this one. Because I'll run content with a lot of my viewers on occasion when I stream, so this is quite nice. But once I start getting into the dungeons and stuff, that's when I switch over to my tank build. So the next is Radiant Champion. I went 5 out of 5 here, so your very presence inspires allies. When you have at least two other allies within 30 of you, you'll gain more movement speed and cooldown reduction. The main reason you take this is for the cooldown reduction. Again, I don't run this build in dungeons. I run it for just standard content. And I went with that one, again, just when I run with my viewers. Your other option is Stem the Tide, so when no allies are with you, I'm going to just stop it right there, because your companion that you have summoned is an ally. So this will never ever trigger, which is really unfortunate. So we can just skip that, because you'll always have your companion summoned. If you don't, you're missing out on a substantial amount of bonuses. Then I went 5 out of 5 for Echoes of Light. Your at-will's powers have a 10% chance to trigger Echo on you. Echo makes your next encounter power instantly recharge all of your encounter powers. This effect can only occur once every 15 seconds. A solid power. This just lets you spam your encounters more often. It's just amazing. And the more you can spam stuff, the faster you can kill things. Your other option here was Beacon of Hope. Activating a daily power becomes a Beacon of Hope for 6 seconds. Randomly 3 allies within 30 of you who've been taking damage will be healed. Again, this is more of a solo build. You're not here to really heal. You're here to dish out the damage. You're by yourself. You're trying to kill things. Then I went with Purifying Power, or Purifying Fire. So your at-will powers apply Purifying Fire to a foe, stacking up to 5 times, dealing 10% weapon damage each time a stack is applied. So basically, if you keep beating on them with your at-wills, you dish out more damage each time until you cast a encounter power, which is huge. We ended up skipping on Prism, because activating a daily power causes you to become a prism for 20 seconds. During this time, anytime you're healed, all allies within 30 of you are also healed for this amount. Again, this is your DPS build. You're running more solo, so this isn't helping out our damage, so we'll just ignore it. But again, everything is up to you. You choose how you want to play. And then the bread and butter of, well, one of our bread and butters of our build, Vengeful Judge. This is huge. This is great. Your Divine Call now also applies Judge to yourself for 10 seconds. Judge increases your damage dealt by 35%, as well as reducing your cooldowns of your current recharging powers by 35%. Your encounter powers have a chance to immediately grant you a charge of Divine Call. This is huge. So right before you go into a fight, you tap your tab, or whichever button you use on console, activate your Divine Call, put Judge on yourself so you're dishing out 35% more damage. You start beating on everybody around you. You start hitting up your encounter powers. And then after a few seconds, tap tab again. Reduce the cooldown on your powers so you can have them even faster. Dish out even more damage. It is a solid power all around. Plus, your encounter powers have a chance to immediately grant you a charge of Divine Call, so you don't have to wait for it to build up. It could give you an instant charge of that, so you can immediately use it. Phenomenal power. Strongly recommend you take that one. We usually skip Bulwark. They don't really have a whole lot to offer. We really wanted to go into light for one particular feat. So we went into here. You have 2 choices here. So you have Gift of Life, so you heal for 10% more, or when you take damage, you have a chance to gain Seraphim for 8 seconds. Seraphim increases the strength of your heals by 15%. You're not really a healer. You're the DPS right now, so we skipped that one. But if you got some lifesteal going on and stuff like that, healing for 10% more is quite nice. And then you have two choices. Light touch, so healing spells generate 10% more action points. Again, you're the DPS here. You're not here healing, so you can always skip that one. Go with Warrior's Bastion, so you get 10% more defense from equipment. You want that defense to offset the a lot of damage, especially when you start getting into like the Sea of Moving Ice, Storm King's Thunder, and then everything beyond. So River District, Omu, Chult, and even big time in Mod 14, they hit hard there. So you want that that defense, and then the bread and butter of the build, Aura's Gifts. Allies within 30 of you gain 25% of your power. They must remain within 30 of you for at least 6 seconds to gain this buff. You're probably wondering, well, we're DPS, this is mainly for running solo, why would I want Aura's Gifts? Because remember when I said not to take this one? Oh, sorry, this one. Not to take this one, because your companion counts as an ally? Your companion counts as an ally, so they're getting 25% of your power. And what do you have on your companions? Bonding runestones. And what do bonding runestones do? Gives you a percentage of the of your companion's stats. Yep. You give them power, they give it back. Awesome feat. Strongly recommend getting this. So that covers over the feat. Again, not set in stone. Play the way you want to play. I hope you have fun playing it. So just choose the feats that you really like. Again, these are the ones I currently run with. Choice is up to you. So next, we'll go over companions. So for companions, lots of choices here. Many things that you can choose from. So for your summon companion, I currently run with the Chultan Tiger for its ability. The damage over time bleed. They take 10% more damage from all sources. This is huge. Your tiger puts bleed on an enemy. They take 10% more damage from you. Very nice. And then of course, for your runestones, you want bondings. Highest ranking bondings you can get. So you can transfer 65% of your companion's stats to you for 30 seconds when they attack. Now remember, this only works on your normal companions. If you run with an augmented companion, they do not work. And that's actually another thing I should mention. On your feats, with the aura gifts, that extra power does not go to your augmented companion. It will only go to your standard companion. So you need a striker, a leader, a defender, a controller, something like that. If it says augmented right up here, instead of striker or defender or what have you, they won't get that bonus, and the bonding runestones will never proc. So don't run with an augmented companion as you're summoned. As for gear, on my companion, I run with Ring of the Grave Strikers +4 and 5 again, because this also works on them with the equip power, giving an extra 1800 power. Now, this companion does have a tendency to take a substantial amount of damage, so I don't always get that from them, but still, when his health is above 85%, I am getting that 1800, so still solid. Plus, I also have Lyra's Bell, so when I activate that for 12 seconds, my companion is revived, put the full health, and basically immortal for that 12 seconds, which is solid. And in here, I run with 2 Azures for more crit strike, trying to round off my stats to make sure I get 100% crit. On my other ring, I have a Brutal and an Azure. Again, trying to get more power and crit to round off my stats. The neck piece I run with is currently the Heroic Neck of the Companion. Again, any neck piece will do as long as you would prefer 2 offensive slots so you can get your crit and armor pen up there. This one I got an Azure enchantment for crit and a Radiant for power. For your other, I should mention, you don't have to run with the Chilton Tiger. You can run, there's also the Con Artist. It's one of the easier ones to gear because it just takes 3 ring slots. So that's a very good one. And that one sheds your opponent's defense by 10%. So not as good as the 10% additional damage, but still reducing their defense, allowing you to pump more damage into them. Sellsword, same thing as the Con Artist for shredding the defense, but they're a little bit harder to gear. They need a neck, a waist, and a sword knot, I think it is. So they're a bit harder to gear for. But still, both of those are solid. Both of those are incredibly cheap. You can pick them up for, I think it's like 2 gold a piece, or you can buy them off the auction house for maybe 400 AD. So very cheap, very cheap. For your other active companions, you have a variety of choices. I currently run with the Air, so I increase damage against targets not at full health by 5%, and then each additional Archon increases this bonus by 5%. I run with the second one, so this is actually 5.5%. I run with Earth, so damage against targets by 6% when I am at full health. Again, we are an OP with temporary hit points and shields and you name it. This is phenomenal. Well, this is pretty much always active. And again, any additional Archon increases this by 0.5, so this is 6.5%. I also run with Siege Master, so I deal 4% more damage, and when on a stronghold map, I deal 8%. I run with, what is this one actually called? Erliles of Belial, for the 10% crit severity. I have my crit at 100%, so I want the more crit severity, so I dish out more damage when I crit, which is always. Other excellent options are the Alpha Compy, which is these guys. So you deal 3% more damage, but this increases to 5% when in Chult. If you're running in Chult, recommend you throw this guy on over the Siege, who's only 4% damage, or you can actually replace the demon with it if you like. You can also have the Fire Archon if you'd like. That one increases the damage enemies take by 5% when they are below 50% health. That is a solid one. That works really well if you're Tiefling too, because you do 5% more damage to enemies below 50% health. And again, that's another Archon to add to the group, so that's an extra +5 on each of your Archons. And of course, the Energon is also an excellent companion, so increases your max HP by 5%. There is a bit of a bug when changing between instances and loading screens that this doesn't actually apply. Usually you have to make it idle and bring it back as an active companion afterwards in order to get that 5% buff, which kind of sucks. Those are the main ones, but again, not set in stone. Run with what you got, and if something catches your eye, give it a shot. You'll never know. You'll be happily surprised sometimes. So those are the main ones, and again, lots of options out there. You can always have a look on the Neverwinter's wiki and have a look at the list of all companions in the game and find the ones that really work for you. So next we'll cover over mounts. So for mounts, there's 2 good combat powers for DPS. The T-Rex is quite nice well, actually, sorry, 3. The T-Rex is a nice one because this you can also use this in your support role as being a tank or healadin. This just ends up lowering their defense by 10% for 10 seconds, or you can eat a minion, which is pretty funny watching. This is solid. I like it. Best part is if more than one person has a T-Rex and you all activate them at the same time, they stack, which is phenomenal. For your equip power, you'd like to have more power, if possible. You can also use it for rounding off any particular stats that you require. If you're short on armor pen, or if you're short on crit, or what have you, that is up to you on what you need to help round off your build. I'm able to reach my caps that I require by using my companion through the bonding runestones, so I have this one set to the power boon, so I can dish out more damage. In your stable, here you have a variety of different things that you can pick from, and as for your insignias, I like to count these as little bonuses, so this can really help round off your build, give you an extra 200 here. Maybe if you need that extra 1%, you can maybe switch out 2 or 3 of these to help you. But you can run anything you want in here. Prosperity and dominance are your main ones. Prosperity for HP and dominance for power. But of course you have aggression here for armor pen, and skill, if I have one. Skill for crit strike. And here's the dominance for power. But here, you can just use whatever you have available, and then slowly work your way up to getting dominance and stuff like that. Unfortunately, dominance are ridiculously just overpriced because power. Everyone wants more power. And then we have the new ones that have come out. I have yet to invest in them, and I don't plan on spending my Zen on those crates and a chance of getting one. So we'll hold off on that. So as for your powers, there's a couple of decent ones that you would like to get. So Protector's Camaraderie, whenever your summoned companion attacks, you gain 3% of power and defense for 10 seconds. This stacks it to 4 times. Your companion is attacking all the time as long as it's alive. And you're getting more power and some defense, which is not bad. And we want more power. So this is a solid one to get. Artificer's Persuasion. When you use an artifact power, your recovery, movement speed, movement, action point gain, and stamina gain are increased by 10% of your power by 15 seconds. You're going to have a lot of power. You're going to get a lot of recovery, a lot of movement speed, and a lot of action point gain. So, and stamina gain. So this is a very solid one. And we really like that action point gain. And the movement speed is quite nice, especially when moving between groups. I use Gladiator's Guile here, so when your stamina is above 75%, you move 15% faster, and when your stamina is below 25%, you gain 15% of your power as stamina gain. So it really helps you to rebuild your stamina, but I don't use much stamina in my DPS build. I mainly have this so I run 15% faster, because we are one of the slowest classes in the game. So I really like this one. And then I have Assassin's Covenant, so I lose 10% on my defense, deflection, and lifesteal, and gain the combination of lost stats as power, which is awesome. Now again, we didn't really stack defense, deflection, and lifesteal. That's more of a tank thing, but still we are getting defense, deflection, and lifesteal through our gear, so we're still getting some extra power from it, and that every little bit counts. And then I have Wondrous Fortune, so I have 4% chance after killing a foe to find a refining stone at your feet. I have this so I can really pick up on my refinement, again to upgrade items and enchantments, or just to sell on the auction house to make more AD. There's a whole bunch that you can choose from. These are the ones I picked. Again, have a look through them. There's a variety of ones that you can choose. Everything from Protector's Reprieve, so stun, knock, or mobilize, you heal. Control an enemy, you get more damage against them, which is pretty solid. This is more for your teammates, unfortunately. Then you got stuff about drinking potions. There's a whole huge list, and you can definitely have a look at them and attempt to decide what's the best course of action for you. Alright, so now we're going to talk about boons. So, boons. If you are in a guild and your guild has boons, there are two ones that you really want. You really want power, and you really want HP. Now these ones also have other ones, so unfortunately you can only have one in offense, one in defense, one in utility, and one in PvP. But you really want the power one because you want to dish out more damage, obviously. But there is PV board enchantments we don't really care about. But there is an armor pen one here. Don't care about that. Crit severity is nice, but again, we really want that power. We can pick up our crit severity in other ways. Group stat bonus, not terrible, but still, there are other options, and we don't really care about that one. Now in defense, I said go for the HP. Again, more HP is more power, and more power is more damage. Plus, with one of our passives, we end up dishing out more damage based on our HP, so that's a very nice one. You can also get incoming healing, which will not be very useful. Control resist is nice, but again, we're here just to dish out damage. The faster we kill them, the less we'll have to worry about being controlled. Critical hit resistance, again, don't really care too much. We do want to get hit a few times, proc that 10% of our HP into power, so we can dish out even more damage. Then there's the defense bonus. Solid one if you are incredibly squishy, but again, we want that HP for the damage. There is a lifesteal bonus, which is nice too, but again, we got our temporary hit points and shields and stuff. We don't really take any damage to our actual hit points. It's always from the temp and the shields, so that's why I say go with the hit points. And then AoE resist, again, not important. Go with the hit points. Utility, you can pick anything you want here. It doesn't really matter. I keep it on the experience bonus just for more overflow rewards, so I can get more refinement. I usually save these for times 2 events, so I get more out of it. But you get treasure hunters for professions, mount speed if you need to get from point A to point B faster. Group heal, revive sickness is a really nice one to run with in dungeons. I'll switch to this just in case. That way, if you do go down and someone picks you up in the middle of a fight, you only have to wait 1 minute before the revive sickness goes away instead of the 4.5. Very useful. There's a glory bonus, but this is not really used for PvP that much. And then healing potion bonus. Most people don't have healing potions by the end. We all use stones. And then that's PvP. Won't talk about PvP. I got nothing done in it, and it doesn't count for PvE anyways. So here we go, Sharandar. So here you want to take pretty much anything that says power, HP, crit, and armor pen. Those are the 4 main stats that we're looking for. Power trumps everything, followed by HP trumping everything, and then crit and armor pen. So, choice between defense and power, we go with power. Choice between deflect and crit, we go with crit. Choice between HP and action point gain, even though the action point gain is quite nice, we go with the HP. So when being struck by a foe, you have a chance to heal yourself, don't really care. We want, when striking a foe, a chance to deal more damage. Very nice. Here you can have stamina regens 10% faster in combat, When you deflect an attack, you deal 3,000 damage to your attacker. When you kill a foe, gain 135 power for 45 seconds, stacks up to 30 times. Or potions now heal you for 10% more. Don't care about the potions. Don't really care about the stamina regen. And we don't have much deflect, so don't worry about that. We really want this one. We're killing left, right, and center with this build. You're going to have lots of extra power, which is quite nice. Dread Ring. Power and move, or crit and move. Again, we go with power. Lifesteal or regen. Regen is quite nice. You can also go with lifesteal. Choice here is up to you. I went with the regeneration, mainly for auto combat. I get some nice regen afterwards. But lifesteal is quite nice for in combat. Deflection chance or resistance ignored. You want to go with the resistance ignored, dish out more damage. So when dealing damage, you have a chance to deal 20,000 necrotic damage over a few seconds. After this effect, end target receives 25% less healing from spells for 10 seconds. So quite nice. Like deal more damage. And this one's about taking damage to be healed. Again, don't really care. We're here to dish out damage. So taking damage, chance to generate a shield. Don't really care. Again, we're here to dish out damage. So we went with this one. So when we get 50 stacks, we only get 1 per second. 4,000 power, 4,000 lifesteal, 4,000 regen, which is phenomenal. Your stealth, when you steal health from lifesteal, chance to steal 3 times as much. Again, we want dish out more damage, so we like that power. But all in all, not a terrible thing if you realize you're being very squishy. But you should have enough temporary hit points and enough shields that you don't really need to worry about lifesteal. And then healing spells have a chance to burn enemies for the target up to 2,000 radiant damage. We're not here to heal. Strongly recommend you go with this one. But again, all this is completely up to you. Icewind Dale, so AoE resist or combat advantage. Combat advantage dishes out more damage, so we want that. Incoming healing or stamina gain. Went with the stamina gain in order to be able to put up our shield a bit more often, just in case we do take a few hits and we lose a little bit of HP. Pop up our shield. We put up Sanctuary, which heals us, which is quite nice. 400 recovery or 2% crit severity. Go with the crit severity. Dishes out more damage when you crit. Gain up to 2,000 power based on how much stamina guard you are missing. This is a nice one. Or damage a foe. When damaged by a foe, you have a chance to proc Cold Shoulders, which reduces the damage for the next attack by 2,000. Again, we're here to dish out damage, and don't overly want them to stop hitting us, because we like to have the full 10% of our buff from our HP converted into power. So this one's a solid one. Based on how much stamina guard you're missing. Don't usually miss a whole lot. So again, this is both damaging when damaged by a foe, to gain stacks of avalanche to dish out some damage, or chance when healed to gain 3,000 bonus damage on the next attack, chance to gain 10% action points when killing a target, or drinking a healing potion now heals allies with 35 feet for 10% of that value. Again, nobody uses healing potions near the end of this game. So, scratch that one. Don't care about that one. Not really important. This one's very nice. More action points. You can spam your dailies more often, and you're killing everything. You're a DPS. Underdark. Choice between defense and HP, or power and HP. Go with power. Lifesteal and HP, or crit strike and HP. Go with the crit strike. Regen or combat advantage damage bonus. Go with the combat advantage damage bonus. Dish out more damage. Control effects now have 5% shorter duration when applied to you, or stamina regain stamina 5% faster. Again, not too worried about the stamina gain guard from because we have that ability now that less stamina that we have, the more power we get for more damage, so I went with the control effects. Nothing's worse than being controlled when you're trying to kill something. Control bonus versus demons, don't care. Demons do 5% less damage to you, don't care. Slay a demon outright, chances of this happening are so slim to nil, it's not even worth taking. Abyssal strikes, just go with this flat 10% damage versus demons. But again, choice is yours. Tyranny of Dragons, hit points or power, go with power. Deflect, crit strike, go with crit. Defense, armor pen, go with armor pen. Lifesteal rating, or regen, I went with regen. You can go with lifesteal rating. Either of these are perfectly acceptable depending on how you like to play. Increase lifesteal, increase incoming healing, increase critical severity, and increase control strength. We're here to show damage, so I went with crit severity, but again, choice is yours. If you like to get a little extra lifesteal just in case you do take a few hits before going into combat, choice is completely up to you. We don't really care about the control strength, and the incoming healing we don't care too much about. Maze Engine. Choice between lifesteal severity or incoming healing bonus. The choice is yours. Either one will work. 400 combat advantage bonus, or control effects have a 5% shorter duration when applied to you. We like that combat advantage bonus. We like dishing out damage. Stamina regenerates 10% faster in combat, or action points 3% faster. We want the action points so we can drop our dailies more often to really mow through the enemies over the stamina regen. So when below 30% health, stop right there. We don't really care. We'll never be below 30% health. Healing spells, we don't have healing spells, so we'll skip this one. When striking a foe, chance to gain 2,000 crit strike bonus for 6 seconds. We're always striking foes, so yes, we like more crits. Grants 10% control strength. Don't really care. This one is your best bet. But again, choice is yours. Elemental Evil. Power and HP over defense and HP. Go with power. Lifesteal severity and HP. Regen and HP. Choice is yours here. Go with which one you would prefer. Crit strike and HP. Recovery and HP. Go with the crit strike. Chance to gain bonus stamina for 10 seconds when killing a target. Don't care about stamina. Chance to gain lifesteal severity for 10 seconds when killing a target. Don't care about lifesteal. When taking damage, you have a chance to heal up to 24 hit points over a few seconds. Don't really care. When taking damage, you have a chance to heal up to 24,000 hit points over a few seconds. After this effect ends, you gain crit strike, or your critical strike is increased by 10 seconds for 10. Your crit strike is increased by 1,000 for 10 seconds. We'll take this. Chances are we are going to be getting hit a bunch. It's not a chance. It will happen. You're fighting a whole bunch of enemies all at once. You're not controlling them 24/7. So you are going to be hit a bunch. So this is pretty solid. We like crit strike over recovery. Storm King's Thunder. So you have a choice between control resist and HP, or lifesteal severity and HP. I went with the control. I hate being controlled. Can't dish out damage, but choice is yours here. Stamina gain, Everfrost resist. Incoming healing, Everfrost resist. Choice is really yours. I went with the incoming healing over the stamina gain because I like to have a little less stamina if possible for that extra power. Choice here, you gain 2,000 recovery based on how much stamina gain you're missing. Chance when taking damage to gain up to 2,000 bonus damage on the next attack. You're in the middle of fighting people. You're going to be taking damage, so you're probably going to be proccing this quite often. When you kill a foe, you have a chance to deal up to 2,000 fire damage to all nearby enemies. Also grants 2% Everfrost damage resistance, or your max HP is increased by 3,200 and deal 2% and 2% Everfrost damage resistance. Here, these are both solid ones. Unfortunately, this is just a chance. This is a permanent increase to HP, and again, more HP, more power, and more damage based on our one of our passives that we have. But this is a choice up to you. You can try out both, see which one you like. This one, so when striking a foe, chance to gain icy stacks of icy chill at 10 stacks. Next attack clears and causes a burst damage of 14,000 damage to targets close to you. Damage over time does not trigger this ability. Pretty solid. You're always getting attacked. Or sorry, you're always attacking. So, healing allies. Again, you're not here to heal, and you're only running with your companion. So, which does count as an ally, but you're not really healing. Healing potions now heal you for more. Don't really care. And when you deflect an attack, you can deal up more damage. We didn't stack deflect, so not really worth it. The Cloaked Ascendancy. Choice between when you kill an enemy, you have a chance to demoralize up to 5 enemies within 25 feet, stunning them for 4 seconds. Or when you kill an enemy, you have a chance to emit an aura of hope that boosts action point gain for all allies within 25 feet for 10 seconds. This is a decent one if you want to take it. If you are going to be running with other people for content. Again, this is a solo DPS build mainly. This is just for running standard content, not for dungeons. So that's why I went with this one to stun them for 4 seconds. If they're stunned, then I can just beat on them without worry. Choice between 2% incoming healing bonus and 1,000 HP, or 2% crit severity and 1,000 HP. Went with the more damage with the HP. Lifesteal and maximum hit points, or recovery and maximum hit points. Here you have a choice. Pick whichever one you went. If you did end up stacking lifesteal over the recovery, then you probably want to go with more lifesteal. But choice is yours. When you land a critical strike, your stamina regenerates 10% faster for 10 seconds. Don't care about stamina. When you deflect an attack, regain up to 8,000 hit points. Again, we don't stack much deflect. When damaged by a foe, chance to gain a stack of aberrant power at 10 stacks. Taking damage will clear the stacks and deal up to 10,000 damage to nearby targets. Aberrant creature takes double. Damage over time effects. Damage over time effects does not trigger this ability. Aberrant Slaughter, just like the demonic one, chance to outright kill them. The odds of this happening are so slim to nil, it's not worth it. This is probably your best bet. But again, choice is up to you. So here I did something a little bit different. It's quite interesting. Recommend that you don't take Burns Beasts for damage versus the dinosaurs. It's not very useful. Dinosaurs only exist in Chult, so... Well... Chult and Omu, but... Well, actually, Chult is the island, and Shoenstar River and Omu are the two places, but... I just call Shoenstar Chult and Omu Omu. Too specific, unfortunately. I didn't like that. And there's also the defense against it. So the ones I did go with are the Tyrant Terror. I went through the 3 here. More power and more HP. Now for these ones, this one gives you regen and HP. This one gives you defense and HP, and this one gives you deflect and HP. I went 1 out of 1 or 1 out of 3 in each of these. Mainly for the HP, because if I went 3 out of 3 here, the maximum amount of HP I could have gotten is 2,000. This one would have been 1,600, and this one would have been 1,600. But by taking 1 in here, I got 1,200. 1 in here is 800, so that's 2,000 HP already. And then 1 in here is 800. I'm getting 2,800 as opposed to just a flat 2,000. So that's why I put 1 in each of these for more HP. Not too worried about the regen, the defense, or the deflect. As for up here, I put 1 into Soul Siphon, so chance on hit to gain stack of Soul Siphon. On killing creature, you release all stacks of Soul Siphon in a burst at all nearby enemies. Each enemy receives 2,000 damage per second, lasting 1 second per stack of your Soul Siphon. You restore 1% of your maximum hit points for every stack released. Stacks up to 10 times. And then additional tiers just increases the damage and the max health gain. I put 102 in here. I went 102 in this one for Lingering Curse, so chance on hit to apply Lingering Curse to target to your target, which lasts for 10 seconds. Can be applied once every 60 seconds. When a target which has Lingering Curse is killed, its soul explodes out at a random enemy within 20 feet, causing 30,000 damage and applying Lingering Curse. And it's quite nice, actually. Unfortunately, once you start getting up to those big bosses where you can't kill them in 10 seconds, it really sucks, but still solid. And then, of course, additional ones increases the damage of the soul. You also have, when an enemy dies nearby you, reduce incoming damage by 1% and 40 incoming healing bonus ratings for 10 seconds, stacks up to 5 times, and then just increase those numbers for additional points that you put into it. Again, doesn't really help us dish out damage or anything like that. More of a tanking and healing in thing. You have Impenetrable Jungle, so on being hit, gain a stack of Impenetrable Jungle at 10 stacks. The next hit will release a burst rooting all enemies for 4 seconds. I mean, it's not terrible power, but again, it's not really helping you dish out damage, so I do run with this one on my tank build. I find it to be quite nice being able to root enemies, allows me to control the battlefield better. But for a DPS build, most things die really, really quickly, so I'm not too worried about rooting enemies for 4 seconds. And then Ravenloft. For here, just went with Hardened Bones for the more HP. The other ones you have are damage resistance versus undead. Don't really care about that. Increased damage versus undead by 15%. This is nice, but again, it is specific. You're going to have to be fighting undead for this to actually trigger. And unfortunately, there's only certain areas in Neverwinter that you're going to be able to find undead, or certain dungeons, which kind of sucks. But it is something to keep in mind. If you know for 100% fact that you are going to be doing undeads, doesn't hurt. That extra 15% damage is a lot. There's Ageless for recovery, Vampiric Grace for movement, and Raven's Cunning for control resist. I went with the HP, again, more HP, more power, more damage, and it works with our class passive, which allows us to dish out more damage. So you got Righteous Sacrifice, so taking 10% more of your max health and damage grants nearby allies 800 power for 5 seconds, stacks for maximum 5 times. This is an idea because, again, ally also refers to your companion, which gives you more power back through the bonding runestones. But how often are you going to be taking 10% more of your max health and damage? I haven't tested it out to see if this was on a timer yet, but I took it as face value, saying that you had to take 10% at one hit. So we'll see. Anytime your root, stun, hold, daze on an enemy, You have a chance to increase the combat advantage damage of nearby allies by 5% for 10 seconds. Can only happen once every 60 seconds. Sucks that it's on a timer for 60 seconds, and it only works on allies. We're not overly important. It's not overly important that your companion is dishing out a lot of damage. It's you who are dishing out a lot of damage. You just need your companion to proc their bleed so that you can do 10% more damage. So, not overly helpful. Transfusion, healing another player for 10% of their maximum hit points. Not a healer. DPS here. Bloodlust. So I went 1 out of 1 in Bloodlust. So every critical hit against an enemy has a chance to add a stack. At 10 stacks, gain 2400 increased power for 10 seconds. Buff can only be applied once every 60 seconds. Sucks that there is a 60-second timer on it, but with 100% crit, every 60 seconds you know that you're getting your 240 or 2400 power. So I like this one. But again, all this is not set in stone. You play the way you like to play. Lots of different ways to play, and don't be afraid to try out new things. Lots of stuff to try. So last but not least, we're going to cover powers. So lots of interesting things here. I'm going to cover over the do's, the don'ts, what works really well, what doesn't, and stuff like that. And don't be afraid to experiment. Best part about the powers is you can swap them at any time as long as they're not on cooldown. So pretty solid. So we'll talk about our general powers first. So we got Sanctuary. So you just erect a zone of safety where you gain 30% increased damage resistance, and ally gain 10% increased damage resistance and are rapidly healed, immune to some control effects while maintaining the zone. If you know you're about to get a really big hit, or you see an ally about to get hit, again, solo DPS, but if you are in a group, you can always bring up that shield to protect them. Now, since we went protection, you are actually gaining 80% damage resistance, and allies are gaining 20. So, very, very useful. Plus the heal, if you do take a little bit of damage, hold up your shield there for a few seconds, get healed up, good to go. You got Heroic Effort, since I'm human, for the extra feat points. Versatile Defense, because I'm human, for extra defense. Since we're Paladin, we can our skill is Religion, so we can access Religion. And then Oath of Protection, and was the Paragon path that we picked. So my damage resistance is increased by 10%. I generate 500 more threat, and when you take damage, you gain power proportional to the amount of damage you took. This bonus caps at 10% of your max HP and power. So that's why we were really stacking HP. We wanted that extra power. Now, for here we're going to cover over at-wills first, followed by our passives, which are actually called class features. I call them passives. From there I'll go dailies and then the encounter powers, because there's so many encounter powers. So one of our big bread and butters is the Radiant Strike. So you lunge at a foe, unleashing a burst of light, also grant it Radiance. So Radiance, your armor penetration and damage are increased by 5% for 15 seconds, does not stack. So basically you just charge in, you're good for 15 seconds. You don't need to boat casting it again to get some armor pen and damage. Higher ranks just increase the damage overall. We really like this because it increases your armor pen. So instead of having to hit 85% without using this ability, you can just hit 80% and then have this ability slotted. Strongly recommend you keep this ability slotted because, again, increasing armor pen, but you're also increasing your damage by 5%, which is huge. There is Valorious Strikes. So you strike a foe with your weapon, channeling the force of justice to destroy your target. If the third swing connects, you gain Valor effect for 15 seconds. So your damage and resistance is increased by 5%. Does not stack. Higher rank just increases your overall damage. not overly important about the damage resistance. We actually kind of want to get hit again for taking more damage to get the maximum power share, so we can get more power to dish out to deal more damage. You have Oath Strike, so you strike your foe with a quick fury of blows. The final strike of this power changes based on your oath. We went with Protection, so the final strike of this power forces the target to attack you for 3 seconds. Players deal 75% less damage to other targets for 3 seconds. This is just for PvP, this bottom part here is from the players. This one up here is for PvE, so you're just forcing a target to attack you. Higher rank just increases the overall damage of the at-will. Not overly important. One of the lower damaging at-wills that we have. Forces the target to attack you again. They really shouldn't be attacking anybody else. For the most part, you're going to be running solo with this, maybe with 1 or 2 others. But you are a DPS, so you are generating enough threat. Plus, with your features and stuff, you're generating 500% more threat and everything. You'll be fine. Not a good power for a DPS. Great for a tank, though. Shielding Strike. So this is the other one I run with. It's a decently high damaging at-will. You strike your foe with a brutal swing. On the final strike of this combo, you gain a shield that absorbs damage. This shield stacks up to 3 times, lasts for 8 seconds. Higher rank increases the shield and overall damage of the ability. I like running with this one because it gives you a shield quite easily. All you gotta do is click a button, and on the final strike of it, you gain a shield, and it stacks up to 3 times. Now, it doesn't show on your health bar that you have that shield, but you do have that shield. And again, that shield is going to reduce the amount of damage that you're taking for your total HP, so you're getting all your bonuses for having maximum HP. So next, we're going to cover over our class features, which I call passives. So, big one that we like running with is Aura of Courage. You and allies within 30 of you deal 1% of your maximum hit points as bonus radiant damage. Higher ranks just increase the damage overall, which is huge. So this is another big reason why we're stacking a lot of HP, and why a lot of other people who run with paladins will stack HP to dish out more damage. You're pumping out lots and lots of damage because of this. There is Aura of Truth, so foes within 30 of you deal 5% less damage. Comes out to be about 12.5% at higher ranks. We're not overly worried about this. Again, we want to get hit, so we can make sure that we always have the that full amount of power from the amount of damage that we took. There's Vengeance. So when you or allies within 30 of you take damage, to deal 15% of your weapon damage to the attacker as radiant. Higher ranks increase in damage. This is a decent one, but there are other better ones I would recommend that you run with. This is nice, but unfortunately only 15% of weapon damage, and weapon damage is a bit lowish. So here you're only going to get 15% of somewhere between 1954 and 2388. You're only going to get 15% of that. So you're looking at 250 or so. So all in all, not overly the greatest. Then you have Aura of Wisdom. This is the other one I run with. You and allies within 30 of you gain 10% increase recharge speed, which is actually 25 at higher levels. Very nice. Being able to spam your encounters even more often, huge. There's Aura of Protection. You and allies within 30 of you gain 5% increased damage resistance. Goes up to 12.5% at higher ranks. Again, you want to be taking some damage. You don't want to be resisting at all. and we're here to show damage, so not really useful. I have Aura of Wrath. You and allies within 30 of you gain 20% increased damage as your hit points diminish. Goes up to 35%. Again, we are using shields, we are using temporary hit points. Our main hit points are not moving from 100%, so this is pretty much useless to us, unfortunately. There is Aura of Valor. Allies within 30 of you who are below 40% HP cause you generate 100% more threat. This affects stacks, so more allies that are below 40% increases that. And then the threshold is increased by an extra 15% for 55%. Again, you're running by yourself, so this doesn't really matter at all. Aura of Solitude. When no allies are within 30 of you, you deal 12% more damage in healing. Increased by an extra 9% for 21% more damage in healing. You think this would be an excellent power to run with for more damage, but again, your companion counts as an ally, so as long as you have a companion summoned, this won't work. So we can count this one as a write-off. Dailies. Bread and butter of dailies. Divine Judgment. You summon a Delific vengeance on your foes, causing incredible damage in a small area around the target. Higher ranks just increase the overall damage. This is a great power. You pop your Divine Call before that. You drop a couple encounters to increase the overall damage. You're slaughtering everything with this, and it does end a small AoE around the target that you aim at. So if you really group them up with you, boom, you just slaughter so many. This is a great daily. You have Heroism, so you gain 100% of your maximum hit points as temporary hit points and gain 15% damage resistance and gain immunity to control effects for 4 seconds. Higher ranks increases this all the way up to 10 seconds. We're not too worried about this. We want to deal damage. This is more in the line of tanking-ish. But you do need a second one. So this one will be slotted. Your other one is going to be up to you. So that was Heroism. Lay on Hands, you immediately heal the target for 100% of their maximum HP. Remove all damage over time effects from the target. This power consumes action points proportional to the amount of HP the target is missing. And then just higher rank reduces the cost of action point gain. This is hard because you actually have to target them. If you're able to use a script to make it work, all the power to you. I don't like running with it. It only targets one person, and again, you can't target yourself with it, so not very useful for a DPS build. Shield of Faith. You summon a divine shield to protect you and your allies for 6 seconds. Any damage taken by allies is reduced by 30%, and they receive 30% more healing. And you increase the time for it up to 12 seconds. I run with this one just because. You need a second slot, so I have it. I mainly have this for my tank build, but again, you needed a second one, so I run with this one. Divine Protector. So for 3 seconds, you shield all of your allies for harm. You redirect 60% of your damage that they would take to yourself. All damage would take while this is an effect is active. While this effect is active, is reduced by 60%, and it increases by another 3 seconds at higher ranks for a total of 6 seconds. Again, not here to help deal damage, so no point in taking this. We want to deal damage, and we have Divine Judgment, and you can only activate one daily at a time anyway. So. And now, encounter powers. So encounter powers are going to change drastically depending on what you're doing, what you're running with, everything. I'll try my best to cover as much of it as I can. Burning Lights. I like this power, especially if you're running with a lightning enchantment. If you're running with a lightning enchantment in your weapon, so in here under weapon enchantment, if you have a lightning one, phenomenal. Because this works so well together. So Burning Light. You emit a blinding light for up to 4 seconds based on how long the power is charged. Damage and disorienting foes who are caught in its light. Oath of Protection, you receive 100% more healing while emitting light. Don't really care too much about it. Higher ranks increase the damage. This is a great power. If you can get it fully charged up, it actually causes the enemy to start spasming, which is a mini stun, basically. And they just can't do anything, and you just keep hitting them and hitting them. And as you're hitting them, your lightning is proccing, so it's going between all the enemies. So you just have all these enemies around you. They're getting procced by this lightning. And with Burning Light is just screwing them all up for 4 seconds. The great thing about Burning Light is you don't have to run into an enemy and then push and hold until the power is fully powered. You can actually charge this up and then run into the fight. It basically just forms a small bubble around you, and then you can just be in that fight and it will still work the same way. So, very useful power. I like it. It also causes a disorienting effect. So even if you don't want to charge it up and you see an enemy is about to do some powered move, they got the red lines on the ground, you can just tap it once. Just one quick tap and it will just pop, and it's enough to disorient the foe to stop them from doing their move. Quick note though, it doesn't work on the ultis, and when they have that AoE hand that shoots out of the ground and knock you up in the air, it doesn't work on that. Make sure you dodge those. Sacred Weapon. Your next 3 single target attacks deal bonus radiant damage to your target. Oath of Protection. Your next 3 single target attacks also force the target to attack you for 3 seconds. Not too important about that. Higher rank increases the overall damage. This is an excellent power with the unfortunate side effect of having a crappy animation that slows down everything. Now, it has to be single target attack, so Radiant Strike it won't work on, or Divine Judgment it doesn't work on, but it does work on your other at-wills or anything that specifically targets only one person, which Smite does. And we'll be covering Smite here in just a second, because these two work really well together. This has got a 7.3 second cooldown, and these can stack, so you can have multiple stacks of Sacred Weapon. They last for about 5 seconds or so. So you can have 2, or if you're really quick, and you can use Divine Call to reduce its cooldown by 35%. You're able to get 3 stacks. Most people can only get 2 before they're able to Smite. Now Smite smashes a target, igniting them with Holy Fire for 15 seconds. They burn so hot that enemies within 15 of them are also damaged by this effect. Protection. Foes who are affected by the burn deal 15% less damage for 3 seconds. Not only important about this, higher ranks increases the overall damage. Great ability if you want to combine that with Sacred Weapon. Get double stack of Sacred Weapon and hit him with Smite, as this is a single target AoE. You deal more damage than Divine Judgment will. So, and then if you want to start throwing in, say, a weapon enchant that's Dread, where you're getting a much higher crit severity on your encounter powers, you just showed so much damage with just these two. And then there's another encounter power that you can use that actually increases even further, so it's a very nice combination. Bane. You place a holy mark on a target. This target deals 10% less damage and takes 10% more damage for 10 seconds. This effect can stack up to 3 times. You have 3 charges. We didn't take devotion, so it won't worry about that. And the duration is increased at higher levels. So you get 16 seconds. And it takes 12 seconds for it to recharge. So you'll always be able to have 3 stacks on. Now, this is more for the tank or Healadin builds. Not that great for DPS. It takes too long to get 3 stacks onto a target, and it only targets 1 target too, which really sucks. So, better for tanks and Healadins. Templar's Wrath. Remember all those times I was talking about the temporary hit points? Here's how we get them. You unleash a storm of holy energy, dealing heavy damage to all nearby foes and stunning them. Oath of Protection. Gain temporary hit points equal to 300% of the damage dealt. Higher ranks increase that damage. We're not worried about devotion. This is how you get your temporary hit points. This is phenomenal. 300% of the damage. You might have, say that you have 300,000 HP. But if you're dishing out lots of damage and you're taking 300% of that damage that you just dealt between nearby foes, you can end up with a hell of a lot more than 300,000 temporary hit points. Most of the time, I will have a yellow bar that is permanent during combat, and enemies will be hitting me left, right, and center, and it will not move because I have so many temporary hit points. So it's just phenomenal. Plus, you get a stun off them, which is quite nice. Another thing you should note, this takes into account allies as well. So it might just say all nearby foes, you're going to deal damage to the foes and stun them. But for allies, you're not going to deal damage and stun them, but it would count towards the overall damage that you're dishing out. So you'll gain temporary hit points. So you can just stand in a group of allies before running into battle, hit that, gain a bunch of temporary hit points, and then run into battle, already having all those hit points. It's a phenomenal power. Binding Oath. For 5 seconds, nearby enemies are forced to attack you and gain 100% of your maximum hit points as a shield. When this effect expires or the shield is depleted, foes within 30 take 100% of the damage that was taken by the shield, and you take 50% of that damage. High ranks increase the duration. This is more of a tanking power. I liked using this in my tank build, run to a group of enemies, pop the shield, forcing all enemies to attack you, plus you're dishing out some damage. But again, solid power for a DPSer. Gives you a shield, so you're not losing any of your actual hit points. Now just remember that you are going to take 50% of the overall damage that you take. So you'll get a shield of your total HP. So if you have 300,000 HP, you'll get a shield for 300,000. Now, if the enemies deal 300,000 damage to you, it will deplete the shield. Shield will explode. Enemies will take 300,000 damage. You'll take 150,000 damage and actual HP. A lot of times you'll run with Templar's Wrath and Blinding Oath, using Templar's Wrath's temporary hit points to negate the damage from the Binding's Oath shield when it explodes. Now, if you don't take that full amount in damage, after the 8 seconds are up, the shield will automatically explode depending on how much damage it's taken. So after 8 seconds, if you only taken 10% of your of the shield in damage, you'll only take 5% damage in total. Hopefully that makes sense. Cleansing Touch. You heal a target ally and remove any CC effects from them. You may activate this power while controlled. If you have any enemy's target while casting this power, you instead heal and cleanse all allies in melee range. Oath of Protection, gain temporary hit points equal to 300% of the healing done. We're not devotion, so not worried. And then increase the healing at higher ranks. DC's run with this. This isn't going to help us dish out damage. Don't worry about it. Banishment. You banish all targets in an AoE for 20 seconds. These foes are stunned and become invulnerable until the stun ends. The stun lasts for 4 seconds on player. Oath of Protection. Foes are taunted for 6 seconds after the banishment ends. Higher levels reduces cooldown by 9 seconds, bringing it down to approximately a 23.8 second cooldown. Or sorry, a 13.8 second cooldown. Don't take this one. This is a pain in the ass. You literally prevent yourself from dealing damage to enemies for how long again? 20 seconds. Yeah, no, don't take this one, please. Divine Touch. Deal heavy radiant damage to all foes in an area around the target. Oath of Protection, reduce incoming damage for 8 seconds. Higher rank increases the overall damage. We'll skip Devotion. It's an alright power. When it says deals heavy radiant damage to all foes in an area around the target, it's not lying. Now, unfortunately, it barely does anything to the main target that you're targeting. So, yeah, you might want to be selective on who you're targeting. Plus, you're going to reduce the incoming damage for 8 seconds. Again, we kind of do want to take some good damage, make sure that we have those temporary hit points. But all in all, not a bad power. Vow. You vow to defeat your enemy. Your target. Increase the damage you deal to the target by 20%. Protection. Allies who strike your vow target build threat for the paladin. Increase the damage by an extra 30% at higher ranks. So a total of 50%. This works very well with these two combined. Target one enemy, get a double sacred weapon going, and then hit him with smite, or double sacred weapon, divine call, smite. You're dishing out so much extra damage, it's not even funny. 50% from vow, you get 35% from your divine call. Sacred weapons adding a substantial amount of damage, double stack of that. Hit him with smite, and if you got 100% crit with your 85% armor pen, and you got a dread enchantment, you're increasing the crit severity for your encounter powers. It's just disgusting, like absolutely disgusting. So that is a solid power. You can run with pretty much any build. I run it on occasion with my DPS build. If I'm using dread, I use it for hunts because I'm only ever facing one enemy at the time. But unfortunately, this only targets one enemy. So if you're fighting a lot of trashed mobs, unfortunately it's not very useful. But still, super solid. Absolution. You place a shield on yourself or target ally for 20% of the target's maximum hit points. The shield persists until it breaks. Oath of Protection. Allies under the effects of the shield gain 50% damage resistance. Not worried about Devotion. And you increase the shield by an extra 30% for their total hit points, which ends up being 50% of the target's maximum hit points. It's not joking. This shield will last until you completely destroy it. You can throw it on your character or on your companions or anywhere, on anyone, and the shield will last until they take all that damage. And they also have 50% damage resistance while the shield's on. It's quite a useful power for mainly tanks and devotion for healing, but for dishing out damage, not really going to help you. I mean, it is giving you a bit of a shield, what you can do is throw that shield on you before you run into a fight. But before you go into that fight, wait till the cooldown's off, swap the encounter power out for a more damaging one, and then run in. But remember, you are having 50% damage resistance while the shield is on you, which kind of will make it a bit hard to get the extra power from it, from your HP. Relentless Avenger. You rush the target, dealing damage, driving back all other foes within 15 of the target. All targets are taunted. It's not a bad one. It's a good way to get into the fight. And at increased ranks, it increases the damage. Again, not a bad power. Knocks the enemies around a bit, which I'm not a huge fan of. I like keeping them grouped up, especially for my daily with Divine Judgment, because it does do a small AoE. Taunts the targets. Again, this is usually being run solo, so not overly important. Not a fan of the knockback. But it does help you get back into battle, but we do have Radiant Strike, which allows you to dash at a foe. So if you do get knocked back, and since I mainly run with that's the solid one that I would recommend. But still, a decent power. Circle of Power. This is a really nice one for most builds. So you generate a zone of control for 30 feet wide, and the zone improves your damage you deal by 30% and lasts for 10 seconds. Oath Protection. You and allies within the circle also gain 25% damage resistance. Higher ranks increase the duration of the circle up to 16 seconds. Has a 20.6 second cooldown. Don't worry, you got Divine Call, which is going to reduce that by 35% each time you use Divine Call. You'll be fine. Really like this one. 30% more damage for 16 seconds. And it's an AoE, so it puts the shield on the ground, and anything in that shield is you're going to be able to deal 30% more damage, which is phenomenal. So I like running with Circle of Power, with getting my temporary hit points from, where is it, Templar's Wrath, and then I have the Lightning enchant on, so I use Burning Light, and everything just gets mowed down. And then if I go on hunts, I'll go with Sacred Weapon, Smite, Vow, and throw on a Dread enchantment and just destroy the enemy, the single target enemy. It's great. So that covers over powers. Hopefully that has been enlightening for you. That covers everything. So hopefully this build has helped you out. Again, nothing is set in stone. My build actually changes from week to week. I'll try out new things. As new ideas pop in my head, I'll test them out on a preview server, or reading someone else's build. I'll see something that they did. I'll give it a shot. See if it actually is more beneficial. But this is what I tend to run with. Hopefully this will lead you in the right direction, and you're able to find a lot of fun playing as a DPS build. Again, strongly recommend that you don't use this for running in dungeons. You're not going to be able to tank that well in those dungeons. But again, choice is up to you. So hopefully this will get you on the right path. You'll have a good build and an excellent understanding on how everything works together. And please remember to leave a like, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the bell notification beside it, so you become aware of any more videos I put out. And if you have any comments, questions, concerns, or queries, please feel free to throw them down in the chat. I will attempt to respond to them as quickly as possible. And hopefully not much is going to change over the next little bit, and I won't have to put out another build, because I understand that these videos are quite long, and I do apologize about that. And I will include timestamps once again in the description so you can quickly jump to the parts that you need to go to without having to watch the entire video over again to try to figure out where the hell you need to be. So again, thank you for being here. Hopefully this has helped, and don't forget to leave a like, and if you have any questions, leave a comment and I will get back to you as soon as possible.